Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the first roundtable at India Retail Forum 2015. As retail and technology experts, there's no one better than you to understand how the digital economy is being impacted by, is disrupting businesses, industries, in fact, the whole value chain. Be it fashion, be it sports, be it health, be it lifestyle, whichever field, its digital economy is an all-pervasive force. Our roundtable will take us through and shed some light on how some of the best brands across the world are leveraging power of digital economy to add value to their brands. The focus of this roundtable is rediscover your brand success in the digital era, stay relevant, and win your customers. This roundtable has been powered by SAP. At the roundtable, we've got Mr. Anupam Bansal, Executive Director, Liberty Group. We've got Mr. Bipin Gurnani, Chief Executive Officer, Prozone Into. We've got Mr. C. Gopalakrishnan, Founder, N Stores. We've got Mr. Sumit Soni of Raymond. I believe he'll join us very shortly. We've got Mr. Shitanshu Chunjunwala, Director, Turtle. We've got Mr. Vinod Krishnan, Chief Information Officer and Head, E-Commerce, Usha International. Chairing the roundtable, we have Mr. Vineet Purushothaman, Chief Information Officer of Bharti Retail, and our lead speaker and moderator, Mr. Puran Kaul, Director of the Center of Excellence and Solutions Advisory, SAP. Over to Mr. Puran Kaul to make the lead presentation, and thereafter over to our moderator.
Thank you. So let me also introduce my colleagues. We have Tanuj. Tanuj takes care of omni-channel as a topic in SAP. He's part of APJ team. We have Kalam. He has come down from New Zealand. He takes care of the whole region and fundamentally around customer engagement and a customer-centric digital economy. So whatever words I use it from the session that I attended from you guys were there. So in fact, we had a session immediately after your session. I didn't use a single word that was not uttered by India. Convenience, self-service, B, C-class cities, omni-channel, multi-channel, customer engagement, loyalty days are gone, supply chain. So we also have Sovik. He's our Chief Technology Architect for omni-channel Hybris. He's part of our UK team. Currently he's working on helping us deploy the transformational projects that we are doing at Reliance and Tata's. Some 120 plus projects of omni-channel in telco retail space that we do. All right. So Vineet, what we'll do, we'll start off with some of the use cases. We'll talk about what we are doing. So what Vineet and me discussed, that let's look at various industries. Let's not restrict to fashion retail or F&B or footwear. So let's look at few examples from the relevant industries so that we understand what those guys are doing. Then we get into more discussion about socially connected environment with mobile, self-service, convenience and so on and so forth. How can we reimagine and create a brand stickiness rather than getting diluted in so many channels that are going to the customer? Make sense? Yeah. H&M, so do you want to help us on H&M?
So H&M were in a very transformational journey in 2013. They had thought of rolling out just Hybris for US. The H&M brand in US compared to based in Europe is a premium brand, whereas in Europe it's a mid-sized brand. So that's the difference. They wanted to first roll out in the premium market. So when they started rolling out, they started talking to my ex-company, which was Accenture, and they were engaged with Hybris. But their strategy was get the audience from the store to online. So that was a very different strategy from what the rest of the world was trying to bring the online strategy, online checkout and CODs, and then fulfill it. Click and collect and reserve and pick up at store, or reserve online and buy offline, which is the traditional model we've been seeing now. H&M disrupted that whole piece. They wanted to get the audience from the store, which was their biggest base, and move it into online space. So they tried out, they had a 42 country rollout strategy. Fundamentally store, a call center based strategy where the procurement and the call center was a single entity. So the procurement team and the call center team were also very different sort of a business function they operated out. And of course, web was their first rollout phase, but they had mobility straight away in Europe because 4G was coming across. So right now they've rolled it out to 24 countries on the platform on 6 channels, which is mobility, kiosk, some of the H&M kiosks. So if you have got like a Boxing Day sale running, and as you know, the European and US customers have got 23rd till 31st of January running all kinds of Boxing Day sales. So when they see a queue, they would basically, without the try-on queue is happening, they would basically ensure that the kiosk sale is worked on first, and you reserve your inventory, and then you can try it on later on, because in the Boxing Day sale, it's like in India, it's like a ration dukan, whole long list of people standing up. So H&M is basically completely transformed itself into a click and collect, reserve online, pick up at store, reserve and buy offline model across kiosks, mobility, call center management systems, print module because they have a huge catalog based, and then they're rolling out there. So, and their target is to move it to 42 countries. That's where we are with them on the journey.
So before joining SAP Sovic was with Accenture, and the whole global architecture on omnichannel that has been built by H&M, that is hand-stitched by you. Asos Ace Watson, a fantastic success in China and a few other countries. Loblaw, you want to take on Loblaw?
Yeah. So Loblaw has got one single implementation, one single platform to take care of their 3 different business lines which they have, primarily taking care of their drugs business, their apparel business, and their grocery business. All of them being handled through the same platform. They've ensured that irrespective of how the customer is coming through, he has a very seamless experience altogether. And if you talk about all these 3 different types of businesses, and you all would agree with me, and I also heard the same things from you coming across. One, the process of fulfillment and managing the inventory is quite different for each of these types of businesses. Yet, from an end consumer perspective, I would have the same level of expectation. I don't care whether I'm buying grocery or I'm buying apparel. I want the topmost customer service. I want to be delighted every time I'm coming to your store, or to your website, or to your mobile app, ensuring that you are providing me the best service across all channels. And that's what they have done extremely well. They have ensured that the entire model of click and collect, they have completely revamped it for their entire set of consumers which are there across the region.
And just to add to that, whenever you log into their website, the whole environment is curated to a customer based on my historical purchases. If I buy more of a vegetables, the campaigns and promotion that will show up on that 5-inch or 14-inch screen will be specific to vegetables rather than meat products. If I buy grocery, depending on my purchase history, the information, the campaigns will be disseminated so that that 14-inch or a 5-inch screen, the real estate is maximum utilized. Migros is another example. So what they also do is, so they have, I think, 280 stores. So when you're looking at the inventory in a particular pocket, within the 5 kilometers of that radius, the inventory visibility is only shown, which can be picked up from that store. It can be delivered at home or whatever it is. So it's not a global inventory what these guys have done.
Just to add on to their inventory piece, if you have to give a visibility to the end consumer in terms of where the visibility is, you better need to have a very, very strong and efficient supply chain that is there. There could be a lot of scenarios. There could be a store which is just 1 kilometer from my house, but it doesn't fall in my way to my office. So I don't want to pick up products while I'm back home from the office, but I want to pick it up from another store which is approximately 2.5 kilometers from my house. You need to have very strong supply chain, very strong visibility of the entire inventory so that we are able to do it.
Samsung, a beautiful example. We are deploying it. They are already live in Korea, China, and UK. It's a global deployment. I think India will be phase 3. We had a good, bad, or ugly. I don't know what we'll say. We had a massive example last year, 2014. The year started off with Flipkart and Motorola selling 100,000 devices, and around May or June, Samsung also opened up everything on the marketplace and digital presence. And within a month, they had to withdraw all their products from the digital platform. I think only 2 were available. Predominantly, when they were creating their journey on a digital platform, they didn't take care of that because it was cannibalizing the revenue that was coming through through the brand distributor retailer. Nikon is another example. 21 diamonds.
21 diamonds. So I'll just deviate a little bit from this topic because I was talking to one of the jewelers consortium in Pune, and I mean, jewelry business is a completely different business when we talk about grocery, apparels, or all of these things. What they wanted to do was they wanted to bring all the stakeholders together on a single platform. So if you are a jewelry designer, you can make some designs and try and upload it onto the platform. If I am the manufacturer of the jewelry, I can possibly buy the design from you, manufacture it, and then again put up the finished product onto the platform. Maybe a wholesaler or a retailer can just walk through it, can just have a look at it, and that's the kind of experience that they were talking about. All of them coming together on a single platform, exchanging ideas, exchanging materials, exchanging a lot of different things, coming up in a very collaborative manner. And that was also, that was the part, phase 1 that we were talking about. Phase 2 that we were talking about with them was, you walk into one of the retailers and you tell him, don't show me all of these products, I want something really exclusive for my wife, it's our 25th wedding anniversary. Okay sir, fair enough. He will just take out his tablet and show you some of the exclusive designs. He doesn't need to store the inventory of all of them. Okay, the anniversary is 3 days later, done. I'll get it delivered to your place. That's the kind of experience that we have been talking about. 25 diamonds, again, similar, not completely collaborative kind of a store, but yes, the way these guys have managed to ensure the availability of jewelry kind of an item, which is unheard of in a lot of places, is really tremendous.
So what we have taken the examples, we have close to 1400 plus customers of Hybris Group. So we have only selected customers where it's beyond normal. It's not putting an e-commerce store, it's not putting a mobile store. Some innovation that these guys have done on a particular subcategory.
So just to add on to the 21 diamonds, see the biggest challenge with jewelry and accessories is the pricing of traditional jewelry. So I wouldn't want to go online and buy, if I'm going to buy it for my wife or my daughter's wedding, I'll go to my own jewelers who gives me a bigger discount, especially the gold. The beauty of 21 Beaverbrooks and Goldsmiths of UK, they have a very common capability which they had built on the platform was the dynamic pricing between the stores changed completely, and the site changes its pricing accordingly, especially the gold piece, because the gold bullion in every morning is changing price. So all three were catering to that. Okay.
Toys R Us, again on deployment.
Please come, sir. Please come. Yeah. So Toys R Us is one of our oldest customers. So Toys R Us was a Hybris PIM customer. It was fundamentally an MDM. Hybris was a PIM company first, an MDM company. So when they ventured, they created their whole entire MDM space on their entire. They've got over 10 million SKUs right now across, and Toys R Us is global across. So they moved from an enterprise MDM space to an e-commerce platform with the company Hybris, and still working on us. So our biggest challenge for Toys R Us was scaling. So the scalability part of Toys R Us has been extensive. So as soon as you go through any sort of festivities in any particular part of the world, the scalability of Toys R Us gets the biggest dent. See, 100,000 orders to us in India is becoming normal. But when they started, that 100,000 orders, these guys, Amazon and Kalahari, a marketplace in South Africa, were the first to actually get dented by 100,000. I remember a Boxing Day sale in 2010, working with the company in the data centers, putting in physical CPUs because the load could not be anticipated. Because you see, Boxing Day sale, going towards Christmas, going towards Easter, that side gets dented most. Because who do we actually look after? It's the entire, our kids. So that side has scaled extensively, again on 8 different channels, from mobility to kiosks to call center.
Furniture, so we'll skip it because we have limited time. This is an online footwear. You want to talk about Altera?
Yeah, Altera is essentially into the real estate business. They are into commercial real estate, and one of their very prestigious projects that they have come up with is the Quartz Mall. So this is the entire physical retail outlet, the physical mall, which is there something like an in-orbit mall in Mumbai. What they have done is, apart from giving all the retailers who are joining onto or who are leasing out the space, commercial space from them, apart from giving them a platform to go and sell in the physical stores, they have also given them a platform to sell the products online. So anything that is available in the online, the physical store can also be made available onto the online, which becomes a kind of a marketplace kind of a scenario being managed by Altera. The interesting thing out there is it's something which is happening even in the Indian commercial real estate space also, whether it is the airports, whether it is some of the other malls, where you are not only talking to your commercial person or to the person the retailer whom you are renting out the commercial space, not only the physical space that you are giving him, but you are adding value to his business by providing a platform like this, so that irrespective of where you are, you can still buy them. This is again a very interesting example. So like we were talking about India living in tier 3 and tier 4 cities in the last session that we had, and this is a very interesting example of that. A lot of times when we talk about tier 3 and tier 4 kind of scenarios, people don't have access to good saloons, the example that we spoke about, and in this case people were not having access to good hairstylists. What this platform has done is it has become a collaborative platform to bring together the renowned hairstylists across different people, across different places, and the consumers who want their hairstyle to be come up. It doesn't stop there that they give you some standard scenarios or certain standard styles that you can essentially go and get it done. But they also help you, and if you tell them that, okay, this is how I look, maybe upload your photograph or just share your basic information, how your face is, you have a chubby face, you have a round face, you have a tall face kind of a scenario. Tell them the kind of hair that you have, and they will, and the occasion for which you are looking for a nice hairstyle, they will essentially help you in coming up with a custom hair style for you. So that's the kind of collaborative platform that it essentially has.
3M, Kevin, you want to talk about Nespresso project a little bit?
Yeah. So everybody probably knows of Nespresso, who's a complete sort of reimagining of the business model for Nestle. It was broken off from Nestle. In fact, it was completely separate. So when they went to create the business, they actually only allowed one employee to come from the Nestle business into the Nespresso business to start with. They set up a different physical building, etc. So they wanted to be completely different. And success, I think, is several years down the line, where if you now go to the website and you order an item that costs them about 2 cents to make, and you pay $2 in New Zealand anyway. That's what you pay. But the experience for you is fantastic, right? You get the product the next day, it's delivered to your home, or you can walk into a physical store. And therefore, the omni-commerce, the mobile commerce, whatever the method is you want to interact with Nespresso, you can do that. Compare that back to Nestle, which is a big CPG organization, never able to interact with individual consumers at that level. So they've been able to change that, and they've been able to change it by having incredibly integrated systems. So really, again, it's not a multi-channel approach, it's an omni-channel approach. The last thing I would say is, similar to the scenario for Nestle, you look at organizations, other consumer goods organizations like Red Bull, and they're really changing the way that they're having a relationship directly with the end consumer, and that's something that has changed dramatically. We're seeing a lot of consumer goods organizations trying to have those relationships and trying to, in some ways, disintermediate the retailer in the middle. So it's a challenge. It's an interesting shift on what's been happening in the industry for the last, say, 20 years or so.
I was part of that implementation program of Nespresso in Busan for spent months. their entire launch plan of a brand, they revolved around online. So the Nespresso dedicated capsules were the innovation. So the capsule innovation led to a custom, see, everybody doesn't have an espresso machine. So there is an audience for an espresso machine and there is an audience for that capsule. So they created the online brand and the launch of the accessibility of the capsule first, and then they moved and created stores where they could roll it out. So it was a very disruptive, innovative marketing launch plan of those globules. Now it's become very popular. So just to add, and that made our go live a bit of a nightmarish, but we all went live and happily successfully trading.
As an habit coming from product companies, we'll keep on talking for next 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I'll request
I
Vineet,
was
you
about
can.
to budget when you mentioned about Nespresso, when you mentioned they just allowed just one employee to come over, so that the baggage doesn't come along.
Exactly.
So that brings me, I'll take it to two questions. So that one for where the SAP guys can finish off, talk about, but one for the gentleman here.
Sure.
Well, we talk about doing things to rediscover your brand in this whole space. But have you come across brands who are genuine big brands being a bit edgy about getting into this space because they did not want to compromise their brand image, or because they felt they want to have some new form of their own brand when they went into the omnichannel space or an online space? Right, so I believe that it's not very easy for everybody to compromise their brand status when they're big name in the offline space, if you may call it. And if you come across that,
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with that. I think that's absolutely every organization we talk to that's serious about or has a high quality brand is concerned about what's going to happen. If you look at, historically, if you look at who's responsible for the brand, marketing had a huge responsibility in, educating the audience and what the brand was all about. The reality is now that's right across the whole organization, right? So when you start to communicate with consumers in a different way, when you start to have multi-channels, the reality is that that now changes the way that clients interact with that organization. And there's a lot of concerns about starting that journey from those organizations. And it really is, we can talk about the technology here as being an enabler to that, but there's also a change management, a strategy component to it.
There's a story, I think, which is not very popular now, is what is right now happening with Apple. So what's happening is, if you see right now, you can't get a bigger brand than Apple. Their entire marketing strategy changed in 2014, and there's a team of mine working with them. So Apple in US and UK, they're piloting this model out. You see, it's going into an Apple store is an experience, and the brand Apple speaks for itself. They could not risk making Apple online bigger than the store of Apple. So that was their biggest, but they couldn't ignore the audience. So what they've done is, they've done about 5 people who are part of the aisle of iPad, who are part of the aisle of MacBook Pros, have separated them out. All they're doing is, when the audience is coming into the store, they're taking the audience, saying that this is what, okay, this is fine, if you want to transact, great, but if you're going to come and do the exploration in the store, here's the app, which you move across over there and do the exploration. But their online part, for service and maintainability part, they're completely doing the booking of an Apple store through the Apple iStore. And they've put their brand equity on that, so that they do not miss the loyalty of the customer base they have. So they're also getting omni-channel, but they've reversed it. And it's just the way these things are happening.
yeah, so again, sticking on to that almost, is that again talking about the same thing was, if you look at the entire brick and mortar space, and about brick and mortar guys moving on to the online space and truly being omni-channel, there are not too many stories out there that have made a lot of money for this. And else the Walmarts and the would have been the biggest success in omni-channel. Like, do we see anything there where it is not very easy? Does it mean a separate team has to run the online space from that of the offline space? Is there a need for setting it up differently?
I think Vinod has an expertise on this topic.
Yeah. Thanks for putting me. I think I can do it on. Yeah, you can do it. So putting me on the spot right at early. I'm just beginning to think that I could somehow course through this one without having to engage in it. But I think I can certainly tell you this. I think we talked about the brand being owned by. I come from a proprietor-owned private company that has a legacy of over 100 years in business. And we're currently being managed by the fourth generation of entrepreneurs. The brand term is not an inanimate thing or a value or a number value that you place on it. To them, the brand is a living, entity that they've shaped and they've worked with over a number of years. And this makes them nervous as hell. They look at what's happening to storied brands, they look at what's happening in the dynamics in the marketplace, they look at pricing, they look at the emergence of the various marketplaces, they look at stories of people trying to translate what their brand stands for to the online world, and to Vinith's point, there are not a lot of successes. There are a lot of people that have managed to do well, which is not the same as being a success from a branding point of view. The value of the brand has increased tremendously, or in some way done better because they went on. And that is creating all sorts of dissonances within the organization. One very simply starts with price. Certainly in the current environment that we have, which is significantly price driven. The idea that the control that a brand exercises over its channels today somehow seems to vanish instantly the minute you go online is really, it's something that kind of builds into, is this something we really want to do? So it's I think the biggest question. Invariably competitive pressures will dictate as a slice of the market shifts to online that we have to do something. And then we move from the dilemma of should we or shouldn't we to how should we, and what should we do. And I think it gives us another dimension then of concern, because now you have channel conflict, now you have cannibalism, now you have significant disruptive potential, let's put it, into a brand. I think no matter that it is creative churn, nobody really wants, and I used to work with Unilever at the beginning of my career. Nobody really wants to put your brand out there to be fish food, for any period of time. Sure, at the end of it, you probably end up stronger and all of the good stuff, but brave brand manager that actually goes out and does that, unsolicited. So I think you move from the should we or shouldn't we to the how should we. And the whole idea that, it's much easier for a pure play e-com organization to say, we'll throw it out there and see what happens. Yeah. I can tell you that if I said we throw it out there and see what happens, I'm likely to be thrown out long way to see what happens. So, it's certainly a thought that, as brands engage. And then what is scary is the lack of success stories. I think we need to hit it straight on the night when you say, okay, tell me this story, 150-year brand that is as storied online as it is offline, but has managed to achieve consistency in presentation, forget perception.
Correct.
Presentation of its brand in a way that is consistent with the way that it is offline. And when you don't see too many examples of that, you start thinking, this is some place you want to move carefully into. I could keep up for now, but I'll stop right there to say, again, the dilemmas are should we, shouldn't we, how should we, and then, even if I can make a fairly successful online business of it, how can it be consistent with what I've done over 100 years?
Correct. I would like to ask Anupam, that's what I was saying, because for Liberty, brand is a big topic, right?
Yeah. I think one of the things when I was reading, and I was a late entrant to this thing, I was not the original one, is about how brands can be rediscovered through a digital space. I think there is a lot of confusion when it comes in and we talk about it. E-commerce is not digital. Digital is far bigger and far larger thing than e-commerce. And for us, when we look at it, especially when you look at a brand in the last 2-3 years or even 2 years, with the whole pricing thing comes across and people talking about reaching the numbers and hearing across the next month battle to start in the October, who is bigger than what. And we're on a lighter side, they always talk about at the MRP value where we will be, not at the realized. Is for us, these stories are only about e-commerce discount. Right? And when you talk about its success, when you talk about one of the brands which has rediscovered itself and look at it globally is Burberry, when you look at it. Yeah. And the point we have to look at really is that it's not, and when you say omni-channel, it cannot be rediscovered only at one channel. They rediscovered themselves as a brand and used digital in a way to have a faster, recourse or coming back onto this. So the whole dilemma when we're talking about, I come from, I was just having a chat with Snapdeal, and I come from Raymond, and we got into a vertical which is ready to wear, and it's a completely different concept which we're bringing it out, technology based. The whole idea is to move to an omni-channel, is that yes, the brick and mortar and online come together, and this becomes a delivery point also, eventually when you go out onto it. And we're doing a lot of technology, so it's not a traditional way, we don't display 4 pieces, we display one. It's a style base, we use WMS at the store, and we do everything. So it's a lot of technology. So, and we took a call that even in brick and mortar, we will not do discount. We will not. We want to sell it on experience. So we do that. It's just a tough thing, but it's and whole thing comes across that this year you don't do a discount, next year they won't ask you for like to like more than what you pay. So we will not do it. But I think for us and as the partners, when we look at across, is rather than just selling e-commerce as a part, is where you have to whole package of digital has to come across, that how digital world can help brands rediscover and get to something else, where e-commerce again become one part of it. Today, unfortunately, e-commerce is driving the digital thing, whereas eventually digital should drive the whole pace and say yes, e-commerce is one more route available to that. Yeah. So when you look at an access today, when you talk about how many smartphones, how many Apple is going to sell across, you're able to access to a lot of people and use that to your advantage of moving across. And another point which I would like to add in, it's more about a lot of discussion. I was with they're talking to Microsoft people and we're talking to others. And especially when we come from an apparel business, we have a lot of limitations which comes in, which technology is still not able to solve. There are some steps which are happening. The feel, somebody wants to buy a fabric, he needs to feel. Yeah. The color, it gets distorted kind of thing. You can't see. Today, when online people come and buy with us, they say these set of things you cannot buy because they will not. You can't feel the difference in the online channel. So those are the certain challenges which are still coming across for us when we look at it. That how do we use e-commerce? We've been talking across that the only thing we believe as a brand is that if you're able to deliver an experience online which is somewhat similar if not equal as brick and mortar, I think this has a huge future which will really transform the brand.
I think numbers say it all. If I look at the global, this is not SAP, but global studies say that 80% of our research happens online. 80% of the people start their journey online. But it's only 15% or 14% who actually buy. Because, it's more so in India, because the emotion and stuff like that, you have the look and feel of the cloth, as you said, right? Whether the color is meeting my complexions or not. But the influence of digital on the physical store is a major value that customers are looking at.
Let me add my two bits. I represent Free Culture, which is a brand which started pretty much, I think, the only brand in India which started with e-commerce, and then we graduated to start opening our own stores. So that was a reverse, a move which we did. And I think listening to this panel, I would love to tell what led us to do that. Right? So I think one of the very key factors, and I think omnichannel as a word has become it's become a jargon, right? I think the simplistic view to this is consumer is one, right? A consumer accesses you on mobile, accesses you on internet, goes to a mall. And if you want to really build a brand, and that's what we want to do with Free Culture, the idea was that the customer, if he feels that Free Culture is only selling online, he starts considering or labeling us as a private label. So he doesn't feel that we are a brand, but when I'm next to a Jack and Jones, I'm next to a Raymond, I'm next to a Levi's, I'm straight away put in that brand. This is a brand. Yesterday only somebody came to me and he was surprised that we are an Indian brand because of the view that we are a different brand. So that was a great validation because he's been shopping from our offline store. If we would have only been selling online, we would be classified as a private label. which is either like a discount or I think India is still far away from convenience. And when we did that, our biggest motive was to bring credibility and confidence to the brand. And second, I think our view to omnichannel has always been that let's have a very simplistic view to it, right? So basically moving your inventory, moving your customers and their transactions on one platform. And now the devices can be multiple. It can be desktop, it can be mobile, it can be whatever. And it will evolve, right? So as a brand, we need to, or as a retailer, we need to keep evolving. So if we treat omnichannel as something which is really a threat or a different animal, we'll never be able to take it, right? It needs to be integrated well within our businesses because it's the next level of revolution, right? I mean, as brands, we need to evolve. So if we miss that opportunity, we'll miss out completely. We'll lag behind where the customer is moving.
So I believe there is no doubt everybody that you have to be in this space, in the digital space, but just that we want to do many points.
I just wanted you to request to go to the client list or the examples you had. Sorry, I'm just going a little back. Okay. I just wanted to start with our discussion here. In this forum where it is in India and talking about Indian brands.
Correct.
I didn't see any of the Indian brands being featured here, and most of the case studies we focused were all international.
So that's a very good point. So let me answer that because I get this question often. Official announcement of Hybris being acquired by SAP happened in June 2014. Now from July 2014, sorry, the official announcement of the global announcement which happened, acquisition happened a year before. What happened from July 2014 till September 2014 was about 14 brands got signed up on the platform. And what that led to, that was all of them were in the development phase. So you have eZone, which is not there. eZone is a future retail brand, which has already done over worth $1 million on the platform in India. We have Shopper Stop going live in a month's time. We have got then Tata Retail, which is going live, which is, I can mention these because it's out in the Economic Times now, which is going live in November. We've got Reliance's 2 initiatives, which goes live before the 28th of December, because that is Mr. Senior Ambani's, late Senior Ambani's birthday. Going forward, we've got Arvind Group, and also the second format of future retail, which is coming across. And of course, Jio is on the platform. So from now till April, you will see a lot of go lives.
So
that was the key, one of the key reasons I could, and Puran, you can take
I'll
this.
just quickly add to that. When SAP acquired Hybris, they didn't have a presence in India, even though they had around 500 odd customers in a B2C space. They didn't have a presence in India, Southeast Asia, and other. This is the second year running for us in India, as well as some of the other regions. So we are currently doing almost 200 on Hybris with some of the major brands in the region. In India, we started our journey with Mr. Biani. When we started that project, it was only 2 projects. Today we are doing 6?
11 formats and
11 formats over there.
The rest of the 49.
When we started our journey at Tata, it was Westside.
This is Chroma.
Then Chroma, then that B2B, so on and so forth. I think it was 6 or 7 formats there as well.
Yeah.
So Shopper Stop,
All the 4.
Asian Paints, that was the most craziest one, if I can use that statement, because the organization is very clear that I am not using digital or an e-commerce platform to increase my revenue. My revenue will keep on happening through the brick and mortar channel. My traditional dealer, painter, advisor and other stuff. Whatever 10 years of investment I have created or invested in creating that influencer market. Now if you are a painter, you are attached somewhere to Asian Paints, whenever I have to get my house painted, the guy will come with an influence of Asian Paints. He'll say, use Asian Paints Royal rather than something else. So they do a lot of these nukkad savas, sending SMSs and other things. So they have created a physical Facebook network, which he wants to replicate using the technology. Okay? So the traditional revenue from B2B channel, giving a B2C class kind of an environment for your dealers, retailers, and transforming this whole advocacy in the market.
So 2 questions there. I understand Hybris is a new product which just came about a year back. That's how no Indian examples really. But I thought way in 2000 there was mysap.com, which was also ready to get you online. So from that period or era, you didn't have
So that
Any
was a big,
success
that
stories?
was it. Yeah, we have, because the topic here was hybrid. I know you were there in the session earlier.
Correct.
So we spoke about a lot of Indian customers as well. So that's not here. If you want, we can get into details.
Yeah, so just to add to what Puran said, yes, we have had the kind of things that you have been talking about. And ever since then, the evolution was more around multi-channel. The moment we talk about an omni-channel kind of a platform, that's where this particular Hybris brand becomes, it's something which is associated with omni-channel. You talk about omni-channel, that means you're talking about Hybris, and if you're speaking Hybris, you're talking about an omni-channel. So that's
have that slide?
No, that's in the other book.
That's it.
So we
the
can take
second
it.
question I wanted to ask was, because now you have a years-long experience in India, how do you see Indian market and the consumer behavior, or how they are, I would say, connecting to technology, or their experience with technology versus the European or the US market, and what are the challenges in the Indian context?
So let me give you the two biggest challenges I face for all my implementations across this part of the world, China and Latin America. And the biggest problem I have is optical fiber. So right now, our country is 12 city optical fiber enabled. Not every home has 8 MB speeded broadband. We have between 2 to 4. Our biggest challenge is 12 to 16 cities have got a consistency of 3G. And as soon as we go into the bigger 900 towns, we actually have very, very fluid. So the first challenge I face for most of our and this is non-SAP data for you as well, is I have transacted on a 3G network on a mobility, and I have not got a customer. My issuing bank, my payment gateway has dropped off. I might have got connection through from a merchandiser who's basically sent my payment gateway information to the end issuing bank, but I did not get problems. This is the biggest problem I have, because that's the biggest amount of call center calls from Flipkart to Snapdeal to all our current retailers are facing and telco people are facing. Is that hot? The second channel I have is my customer base of e-commerce is 25 million. So all of this e-commerce buzz we are talking about is there's a lot of wrapper around it. So in a country of 1.3 billion, 900 cities, actually 900 towns, 12 cities is e-commerce enabled, out of which only 25.6, I think is the right data, you can check it up on, is basically transacting, and on mobility and on desktop or on tablets. So optical fiber, as soon as we become a much more optical fiber built nation, it will become much more existable, and that is one of the key reasons brick and mortar will always drive the digital business, and click and collect and pick up at store or reserve online, buy offline will become far more of a fulfillment model and a gateway capability than the traditional European American markets, because we're not going to become optical fiber to across pan India in next 2 years. Those towers are getting not. There's a bigger challenge for that as well. And the other point is, it's not a B2C play for the platform. Our bigger consumer base is 50% B2B. It's not the ticket value, because the distributors, the dealers, the key account managers are taking this platform on an iPad to a mobile capability which is all built in within a single stack, and they're taking it and signing customers on the ground. So this is your tool as a customer called contact center. It is a tool where your dealers, distributors, account managers are taking and signing up your kiranas to come on the platform from a B2B space, and also then the B2C part is already there.
Sure. And my last question is, where we spoke about the profitability and the investment, and what is the rationale to the investment on technology? Because for other than the consolidators, for individual brands, the business on e-commerce directly is not very large, even though we anticipate it will grow, but not to the pace where such kind of investments on technology is justified. So how are we making the solution cost effective, so that at the end of the consumer is not kind of hurt, or the brand is not hurt? What's the kind of percentages or numbers should we talk about on investment on technology?
First, let me add to what Souvik was earlier saying. So we are the second largest consumer of Facebook and LinkedIn globally, right? India as a country. We are number one in WhatsApp. So technology penetration in India, and we are growing our mobile connection with the GPRS is close to 250 or 260 mobile devices. Now said that, we are definitely seeing a lot of large brands can afford. There are Reliances, there are Tatas, there are other brands as well. So what we have recently launched last quarter is pay as you grow model. We presented in the main forum as well. It's something like you leverage this platform, right? As you grow, you start building the capacity, and it's purely based on the revenue that you drive through Hybris platforms. We won't take the revenue that you're doing through your traditional channels. So it starts small, hosted. It can be available on an AWS or any hosting provider. So there's a partner who will come in 90 days, he can make you live on a digital platform, purely on digital platform, and then you start innovating. So there's a package that has been launched, I think last a couple of months back. So if you want, we can send you those details.
Great. So I guess we wind up now because it's time. So this has been an interesting discussion, and as some of the very good examples like Raymond has brought up and mentioned. So there's no doubt it is a journey that we're all going through, and we have to be part of it. Companies like SAP and technology solutions like Hybris, only Ontario, and obviously, but before that, I guess it's a larger decision that business takes as to how they want to approach this and take it forward. Right? With that, I guess wind this up, run this session up. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.